Welcome back to the Broke Money Podcast, Episode 2. This is Chef T.
And this is Lamb.
Last week we talked mainly about sports. We got some good response there. Today we're going to be talking about sports again, but we're also going to be looking at some movies that came out recently. And Lamb here is going to give us a little rundown of what happened at ComplexCon. So, first of all, let's start by talking about Lakers and their recent games, specifically the last 3 games. It started with Blazers.
Yeah.
That was one we won.
Yeah.
And we beat them after how many games?
I think it was a 16-game losing streak, going back all the way to March of 2014. Something like that, some crazy stat like that.
So that felt good. And then what did not feel good was playing Toronto right after.
Ooh,
and
that was...
being down by like 30 in the first half.
Uh-huh.
Then we bounced back. And was it yesterday? We played Minnesota?
Yeah.
And we got a win there too. Things are looking better, but when you see the Toronto game, without Kawhi, there's no real excuse for that. But generally, I would say it feels a little better out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you looked at the last game, I think it was Kuzma, Hart, Ingram, and LeBron all had 20-plus points each.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign that they're clicking and sharing the ball and they're all scoring.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Honestly, I think just first and foremost, I'm a little happy, obviously, with the wins over Portland, the wins over the Timberwolves, obviously, but the Raptors' loss was just disappointing. But I understand it was a back-to-back. Just came off of beating Portland, had to fly to LA to play. I just think that kind of a blowout loss to a team without their superstar player is it's kind of disappointing. Like Toronto's a very good team. No disrespect to them at all. There's no way in hell we should have lost that game. But in the upside news is that now we have Tyson Chandler and
the savior,
the Messiah himself. But I don't know. A lot of people are saying, well, I don't know why Laker fans are freaking out. He's not going to come fix everything. But his defense is definitely there. You got to understand, this guy's a veteran player. He knows the game. He's been on the USA squad. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year. He, the matchup against Karl-Anthony Towns last night, absolutely dominated. That's
like the perfect, I guess, upgrade for like a backup center.
Yeah.
Because if you think about Zubac and Jonathan Williams' minutes, if you give all of those to Tyson Chandler between him and McGee, that's solid. That doesn't solve like the big problems we have, the big problems, but that does solve that little issue there.
Yeah.
We're still lacking shooting. Missed a lot of shots last game. Ingram, I've always been tough on Ingram. Yesterday, especially in the second half, he did play significantly better. Yeah. He was actually hitting shots. Yeah. Who do we have coming up soon?
Let me just check the schedule. Not really, just because I've tried. Okay, so we have the Kings. That's going to be, if I'm correct, tomorrow or Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. So we're at Sacramento.
Is Saturday?
Yeah, and Sacramento's been playing. Weirdly enough, their record right now is, if I'm correct, they're 6-5, so they do have a winning percentage, especially considering the team that they have, and without DeMarcus Cousins, that is surprising. Again, though, I don't think there's any reason for us to lose this game. I think we're good enough to be able to beat a team like that. I mean, we should be at least, and I would be deeply saddened if we lost.
I think everybody's interested in the Lonzo Ball and De'Aaron Fox matchup. De'Aaron has been balling out, got a fat triple-double not too long ago.
31, 15, and 10, I think.
Yeah. And then Buddy Hield has also been scoring.
Buddy Hield, I actually have him on my fantasy team, and he's consistent.
Yeah.
Like, I would say he'll throw up sometimes 10 and 5, 10. I mean, it's not like huge numbers, but you know exactly what you're going to get out of Buddy Hield every day going in.
That's the thing I have with these, I would call them middle of the Western Conference teams.
Yeah.
Is they do have these guys who can beat us, but they have no bench. Like, I'm sure they have a decent bench, but they don't have a bench that should outplay us.
Yeah.
With, our bench and maybe like one of our core players. We should not be losing these games or even allowing them to come that as close as they have been coming. And that's something that I'm looking out for more than anything. Is versus these teams that we should be beating. How are we playing against them? Because you could forget about the Golden States and the Rockets
Yeah.
if you struggle versus these type
That's
of teams.
true. That's true.
Because you want to get to playoffs, but what the hell happens when you get 2 playoffs?
I think a lot of people are, especially Laker fans in general, before the season started, were kind of like, LeBron's here and playoffs are guaranteed, and we're going to take it deep into the playoffs, and potential to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. It's all very justified at the beginning, but I think you kind of got to take a step back now and just look at it. That understand that it's not as easy as it seems. The West is notoriously hard, as we've come to learn over the years. And I think this is just one of the struggles we're going to have to get over. In recent play, though, I've been feeling a little more comfortable and a little more confident in the way that we've been playing. Just unfortunately, we're having struggles still closing out games. And a big one that I'm going to keep hitting home until we miraculously fix it, free throw shooting.
Yep.
Free throw shooting is something to me that, and I said this again and again and again, it's called a free throw for a reason. It's wide open. You just got to make it. It's fundamental basketball. And unfortunately, it's not just the young guys or the rookies. It's up to like LeBron and players like this too.
Shout out to Josh Hart, though. Hit some big free throws and a lot of big shots, too, last game.
I think consistently, the best shooter we've had on the Lakers' entire season so far has just been Josh Hart.
The argument could be made the best consistent player in our entire young core is Josh Hart.
Yeah.
Out of Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and Kuzma. I'm not saying he's better than them or he has potential to be better than them.
Yeah.
I'm saying consistency.
Yeah, this season alone, definitely. He's just been, like, normally when a player on the Lakers pulls up for a 3 or gets fouled and goes to the line, I'm worried. I'm like, it's not going to go in or he's going to break the free throws. Josh Hart, though, I have that confidence when he pulls up or he's in transition or gets a wide open look like that's going in, he's going to knock it down. And if he goes to the free throw line, we don't have to place a bet on which free throw he's going to miss.
As we always do. But, all right, so Kings, win or an L?
I think it's going to be a win.
I have a win, too.
And if it's an L, I'll be really disappointed.
I'm fairly confident that we'll win this one.
This would put us...
I think Rondo will have a good game because he'll have some chip on his shoulder from playing there. I think Lonzo will play good defense on De'Aaron Fox. And I think Josh Hart will do a decent. He'll do well defensively versus Buddy Hield, especially because of their size, similar size.
Yeah.
And I think JaVale and Willie Cauley-Stein. He's playing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think JaVale and Willie Cauley-Stein will be a good matchup considering they're tall, lanky, primarily.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Of centers.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Like JaVale's been playing phenomenal. I'll just say that straight up. And the fact that we added Tyson Chandler, who might look like a washed-up veteran, but just watching the way he played defense yesterday, he was just like a brick wall.
Think about it. He came in and closed the game, first game. So, I mean, you can't have Zubac or Jonathan Williams do that. So, already that's a plus there.
Yeah.
Like, there's no... You could say whatever, but yeah, that's a positive thing.
And people could have the argument that, Jonathan Williams, well, he's been playing pretty good too for considering the kind of player. Unfortunately, though, he is a two-way player, so we don't have him the entire season, and as a backup to JaVale, Zubac wasn't really cutting it because I think, as most Laker fans would agree, he's just not at that level yet. I don't think he's ready to take over properly as a backup, and I think Tyson Chandler coming in was just the perfect little addition to our team right now to give us a little bump. But yeah, so after the Kings, we have the Hawks at home.
What day? You said Saturday is Kings?
So we have another back-to-back.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know why, but we do.
Hawks, though, I looked at the roster today, and who was it? It was Trae Young, Jeremy Lin, and...
I would be lying if I told you you were Hawks players.
I mean, I know Trae Young will ball out versus us.
Yeah.
Any player who's, has done significantly well versus us, they'll play like that or better. That's just how it goes for some reason versus Lakers since the dawn of time. The Jarrett Jacks of the world and the JJ Barea of the world.
Yeah,
but
all these random dudes.
Yeah, I mean Trae Young's more than random, but you know what I mean. But,
they're 3-8 right now, the Hawks. But again, even in the conference, they're in the East. They're 2-6, so they're clearly not playing very well. But I mean, after every game, there's always something or another about how good Trae Young's been playing. So. Even though we should be able to win this game, coming off a back-to-back, though, it does give you a little concern. But I definitely have this as a W as well.
I'm going to put that as a W as well. But like I said in the last podcast, early to mid-November is when I expected them to step it up just based on the schedule and based on
Mhm.
the timing of everything.
Mhm.
So I think that would be 2 wins. And what would that put us at?
So if we win on Saturday against Sacramento, that'll put us at an even 500, 6-6. A win versus the Hawks at home would put us up to 7-6, which finally gives us that winning percentage. And then
Lastly,
and then 3 days later we have the Blazers at home. Now, this is going to be the third game against the Blazers in the first 13, 14 games. We lost the first one. Obviously, it was the season opener. We beat them in Portland, which was awesome, just as a Laker franchise in general with our history there. So I think coming off of that, and if we get a couple wins here against the Kings and the Hawks, that kind of momentum, and after that Hawks game, we'll have a 2-day break before the Blazers. I do believe I'll have a little bit more confidence in us pulling off the win there. It's just going to come down to, again, locking down some of their key players, closing out games, stuff like that. Because, unfortunately, the situations happen now multiple times in this season alone where the Lakers have been up by double digits coming into the fourth or halfway through the fourth, and you just can't feel good about it because it's always
more
about
than halfway, even the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, and then boom, lead is
Yesterday
gone.
we were up 7 with a minute and a half left, and within 30 seconds, Derrick Rose hit 2 clutch threes, and it was back to 1.
Yep.
So I don't know, we'll see, but I have confidence going into the Kings and the Hawks for sure. And I think if we pull off those 2 wins, given the little break we have after, I think the momentum should take us into a win with the Blazers.
You got 3?
Yeah, I got 3. I got these next 3. I put 3 in. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 2-1 loss to the Blazers, just because we haven't won 3 in a row yet. Yeah. We won 2 in a row.
We won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Suns and Mavs. No, Suns and Nuggets. Yeah.
I just feel like the Blazers are always tough, even though we just beat them. And if I was a betting man, I would probably just put 2-1 just from gut feeling.
I'm okay with that. I actually like.
That'll still leave us 500.
Yeah, it would keep us. It would keep us at. Let's see. That would put 6-6, 7-6. That would keep us at 7-7. That'll be even 500 after 14 games.
Again, this is very early in the season.
So I'm not
we're just looking for improvement more than anything. Having a winning record kind of just keeps you in check. And you don't want to lose that. Whereas if you're down, you're always trying to catch up.
Especially when you're thinking about like in the West, where even 500 teams sometimes don't make the playoffs. So you got to be careful. Yeah,
there's a lot of teams who are for sure going to make the playoffs in the West playing really bad right now. Like Rockets.
Rockets playing well. They were at least they're 4-6. They were.
That's what I mean.
They were 1-5 to start the season.
So if you think about it, these guys are going to catch up and move up, and we have to be able to do the same thing and somehow secure a playoff spot months from now. But that's it for what's coming up by the time we talk next week. What else has been going on generally in the NBA?
Let's see. I'm not sure I'm thinking of any big stories.
D-Rose did ball out against... We touched on D-Rose after his big game. He played really well versus us. And, we kind of predicted or talked about if we knew if it was going to last or if that was just like a one-time thing. But it does look like he's just feeling comfortable out there.
I think a lot of people fail to realize that, D-Rose was the MVP and at one point in his career or not, and that kind of skill, although he may not ever get to that level again, it doesn't just go away like that. Unfortunately, he's been plagued by injuries over the years. I think, honestly, this season it's been kind of like just to show that he still has some of that left, whether or not, and he's only, I think, 30. So if he can keep it up, he's still got years to play, and he definitely has some of that old talent, that vintage Rose talent left in him. I think if he just can stay healthy, he's going to be good because he cooked us yesterday. I think we got really lucky with the fact that just the Timberwolves weren't able to convert on a lot of good plays, especially with Towns playing so bad. But we definitely got lucky. But Derrick Rose it looks like he's back officially.
And somebody who surprised me recently is Zach LaVine. I picked him on my fantasy team. I didn't expect this. I thought he'd be like a decent player, especially being that. What is he like? Is he the main point guard there?
Yeah, he's starting.
Yeah, so I figured he'd be playing well enough, but he's playing really good. He's talking about potential all-star stats right
literally, because if you look at the Bulls, that's their own. That's their one guy really. Their record doesn't show it, unfortunately. I just think that they don't have.
Good for him though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially after getting injured, and coming back like that.
Came back from an injury, got paid, and then made it worth it for them.
And little side note here, we did run into Zach Levine once outside of Disneyland, and he did ignore us. So, Zach, if you're hearing this, I forgive you, and I'm a big fan.
So yeah, I mean that's been kind of a good story. He had his career high of 41 the other day.
Jeez.
So yeah, I mean to me Zach Levine was always kind of like just a kind of like a role player here and there, like a secondary kind of to Towns and Wiggins when he was on Timberwolves. And to me, it was more like the hype around him was just mainly because of his dunking ability. But I mean, just clearly when he's given the position to play, the amount of minutes and the amount of time and the responsibility he's been given, he's shown that he's proven that he's definitely should be in the conversation of some of the greater players in the league. Obviously, we'll see how that goes. Again, the season's it's young still. It's only been at most, I think, 13 or 14 games for most teams. So we still got a long time left. And just to touch on one more thing with the Lakers for me was, I know a lot of fans are probably worried, thinking, oh, well, this is not what we expected. I understand the worry, especially with the Lakers' failure to be able to close out games properly and whatnot. But I think the only reason you should ever really worry is if 30 or 40 games into the season, if it looks like there hasn't been any improvement, if there hasn't been any, kind of step it up and learn how to play together a little bit better, I think that's when I'll really start worrying. Just as kind of like reassuring the fans, basically.
Yeah, the key for me right now is seeing Lonzo Ball and his improvement. He's played. I mean, he's starting to hit that three a little better, but to me, I mean, when's the last time he scored like 20 points?
I don't know. Honestly.
Or that's something that I'm kind of worried about. I know he's not a scorer. I know he plays better defense than most people.
Yeah.
I know he grab boards and dish the ball. But if we're talking about our franchise point guard and how we're lacking scoring, and that's something I've been looking out for. I do like his 3-point shot and how it's improved. But again, like I always say, and like I keep saying last week and today, inconsistency is what stands out for me.
I think overall as a team, just unfortunately the Lakers summed up this season so far as just been inconsistency. Just because, like we talked about last week too, and we'll keep saying it I think for a while, unfortunately, that especially the young guys, some days they're on it, some days they're not. And I guess that takes time maybe to develop with a new team and new teammates, but the season's not that long.
Like people keep saying, every team LeBron goes to has an adjustment period, which is true.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that has to do with missing free throws.
Yeah.
There's no correlation between LeBron adjusting and you missing free throws and wide open shots. But it's early and we're hopeful and we're going to keep an eye out on everything.
So we'll update it next week, hopefully, with the current situation with the Lakers.
All right, moving on now. Let's talk some NFL. Our Rams last week took their first loss of the season.
Yep.
What can you talk about that?
Well, let me just say out the gate, and I'm not some NFL analyst, and I'm sure other people said this too, but coming into this game, I felt like we were going to lose just off the gate. Not that I don't have faith in my team, but considering how good of a team the Saints are, how good of a quarterback Drew Brees is, and the fact that it was away in New Orleans, I couldn't feel great about it. And just out the gate, it wasn't looking good. And I think at halftime we were down by 18, or something like that, or 17. And at one point our deficit was 20. But the one thing about this game that I don't feel as bad is that despite the huge number that we were down by, we managed to scrape back at it, and we ended up tying the game in the fourth.
Yeah.
So, I was watching the game with my brother. We were just freaking out, and all of a sudden that confidence kind of comes back in you that maybe we can win this game, and it sucked. It was just a couple plays, couple bad reads, couple bad coverage by our corners, and it just led to the win. But coming into the game, my thought was that. And I'm sure a lot of you may have seen this just around the league in general, the mentality is that the Rams, they're a great team, but, against these big teams, they're not great, or, they just kind of, their schedule's easy, and when it comes to the playoffs, they'll suck. So this, alongside the Packers game, I think were definitely statement games. And if it had been a blowout, how it was looking like, I think this would have been really bad for the Rams' image, and as a fan, I would have felt a lot worse. Coming back and tying it at 35, though, and just barely losing the game at the end, I feel a little better about that. At the end of the day, a loss is a loss, but I definitely feel less like, less like, I guess you could say crappy about it. Like, I'm okay with this loss in the sense that, it came close. I think two great teams just battled it out towards the end.
Who are we playing next week?
We are going to be playing Seattle at home.
I think we should win that one.
Oh, it's not about should. We absolutely, I think, not have to win this one, but I think just to come off a loss like that.
Yeah,
just
keep that
kinda,
winning.
Yeah, get that confidence back
the rest
in
of the season,
the players and the fans to win. Unfortunately, we have not been great against the Seahawks. Just even last year, like at home, we lost to them. This year, we played them in Seattle and barely came away with a win. And Seattle has some weapons, but we'll see. I mean, I think coming off a loss like this, we should definitely go in with a win here.
Also, last Sunday, we did watch Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think about that?
I think the game was promising up until
Tom Brady went off.
Tom Brady decided to be Tom Brady and take over. I think this conversation over who's the GOAT is going to go on forever and ever.
Yeah.
And even if you ask Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers themselves, they've both said the other guys.
I think it's one of those where the case could be made for either. Kind of like the LeBron Jordan debates people have.
Of course.
But yeah, it was still fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially after watching a fat loss and then just getting to watch some good football where no matter who wins, you just get to witness some greatness. That was kind of refreshing. I think
that's another thing that a lot of fans, you take it in thought, is that don't. I mean, unless you're a fan of each team, then I understand, having a problem with the other one. But to me, it's more kind of like, rather than sit back and argue and debate over it and get frustrated with each other, why not, sit back, relax, and just enjoy watching two of the greatest football players ever play. And I think this is one of those reasons to me football is so great, is that you can just bring two teams like this with two big names like this, and the whole of the country's interested in watching. And it just felt good to watch, even just as... not only as a Rams fan, considering they're not my team, but just as a fan of football in general. I think it was great. And obviously, years down the line, they're going to have documentaries and 30 for 30s about their matchups and their legacies. But, I think it was a great week for football overall. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything else.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to this next weekend, talking about some football, and see what happens then. But let's shift gears now, like we said we were going to do. We're going to be talking about some movies now, so if that's your thing, keep listening. If not, let us know if it's not.
Yes. As far as this formatting goes, we're like we talked about the last episode. We were thinking of maybe doing separate podcasts for each subject. If we kind of think that might still work, you're still testing the waters. Obviously, this is only the second episode, so we'll see how this works. But any and all constructive criticism in the comments is welcome. Let us know what you guys think about anything, good or bad, and hopefully if it's good, well, thank you, and if it's bad, we'll try to work on it.
Okay, so what day did we go to watch Beautiful Boy?
That was on Tuesday, so just 2 days ago.
So on Tuesday, me and Lam went to go watch this movie called Beautiful Boy. It's starring Timothée Chalamet and Steve Carell. I'm the type of person who watches any movie I could get my hands on if it has good reviews. Some of them I watch even if they have bad reviews.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of indie movies. I'm a fan of almost every type of movie. This for me was really refreshing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen something that's just dark and just honest and brutal. I think brutal would be the word to describe. And not to mention Timothée Chalamet, he's like the next up-and-coming young star. He was in the movie last year, Call Me By Your Name, which won a lot of awards. First time I saw him was in Interstellar as Matthew McConaughey's son. I mean, he put on a clinic in terms of acting.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, this movie is, again, like you were saying, brutal. It hits you, like, in the emotions.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep spoilers to a minimum.
Yeah.
But
we won't... I mean, I could say that I wouldn't think that there's a lot of things you can really spoil, in the sense that, like, I think if you go into the movie, you kind of know where it's going in general, but it's definitely... It kind of hits you, like, right in the heart. You really feel for the characters. You feel the emotion, like, the raw, whether it be frustration or happiness, whatever it is. But I honestly, I think it was a great, great movie. And it sucks that I don't think it's going to get a lot of people won't hear about it. A lot of people won't care about it. But I think it's definitely underrated, and if you live nearby a theater that's playing it, I 100% give you my recommendation to go watch it.
So, the premise of it is it's a relationship between a father played by Steve Carell and his son, obviously played by Timothy Chalamet, and it's about their relationship, but it's also about, I guess, drug culture and youth and how that could ruin relationships, and they do that through their father-son relationship, which is shown to be so beautiful over the years. They have flashbacks and things like that. They also touch on things in the son's life that may have caused him to do drugs. And then the third part is they showed the sheer brutality of drugs. They give you scientific information and, show you what can cause this and how this can take you down this path and the thoughts you can have and why it's so hard to quit certain drugs.
Yeah.
And overall it was just, almost cried at some parts. Some parts were had slight humor in them.
Yeah.
Not dark humor per se, but just you're like, oh man, that's kind of funny. But overall it was a really good movie. I just wish more people would see these type of movies so that more people could talk about them. I haven't seen a lot of reviews online, but I would recommend watching it.
Absolutely. And just anything Steve Carell is in,
Yeah,
I'm a general fan of.
Both of us are huge Office fans, so
Yep.
anything Steve Carell.
Anything he's in, good or bad, I'm a fan.
Next movie, I haven't watched this yet, but you have. I want you to tell me about it, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, let me just say right out the gate, Bohemian Rhapsody might honestly be, I think this year we've had a lot of great movies, something we'll touch on later on in the year once we give our little breakdown, but Bohemian Rhapsody might honestly be one of the best movies I've ever seen. It was amazing, and it told the story of Freddie Mercury perfectly. It gave you kind of, not in the sad sense of the last movie we were just talking about, but you get all the emotions, you get all the ups, you get all the downs, you get the happiness, the sadness that comes with it. And the best part, obviously, the music. Queen is legendary, their music is legendary, and they absolutely nail the characters in there. I just think, given the behind the scenes of how some of their songs were made, their story of how they went big, their performances and whatnot, I think they absolutely knocked out the park.
Yeah, something I see, a video I watch a lot on YouTube is their performance of Bohemian Rhapsody at Live Aid. That's the one that's in the trailer too.
Yeah.
And I'm just itching to see that because I've seen that video over and over.
Yeah.
And I saw how they try to remake it.
Yeah.
I did see a half spoilery kind of clip of them doing the side by side comparison of the actual clip and that one. What was that scene like in the movie?
So the big the ending part for Queen, I guess in history people knew was. In 1985, there was a concert series around the world to raise money for African countries in need, and they called it Live Aid. And the performance that they put on in the movie, just with the songs and everything, it hits you. I had goosebumps the entire time, and I was just smiling from ear to ear. It was amazing. And so I went back and looked at the original clip from Live Aid, and what you'll notice is after you watch this movie and you go back and look at older clips. The attention to detail, and I said this again and again to my cousin and my brother too, the attention to detail is so good. Whether it's what drink is on the piano that he's playing, or how the stage looks, or where people are standing and doing what, or what song came after what song, and it was phenomenal. And this honestly a movie I think I'll definitely go watch again before it's at the theaters.
Yeah, I was never I was familiar with their music, but once I found out that Rami Malek got cast to play Freddie Mercury, I looked into his story and I looked into the band story a lot more because I was a big fan of Rami Malek in Mr. Robot, and then I found out that it was rumored that Sacha Baron Cohen was going to play Freddie Mercury, and so that just kind of had me interested in the whole story. So after that, I started researching it. So now can't wait.
It's honestly if you want to go watch it any of these days, let me know. We'll go watch it. But I think the reason it's so great is that you don't have to be someone who was alive for Queen. You don't have to be somebody from back then. You don't have to be some old dude.
Yeah.
I think old and young people alike, ourselves included, everybody knows some of Queen's music. Everybody knows "We Will Rock You," and everybody knows Bohemian Rhapsody, and everybody knows "We Are the Champions" and whatnot. So it's just like it gives you a little insight to all that. And honestly, if you're somebody who's not a fan of that, even then I think you'll enjoy it. Just because if you ever get bored, which I wasn't, but personally if you do, the music will carry you over into the rest of the movie. And I think for that reason alone, movies like this and also A Star Is Born, from last month or the month before, I think movies like this they're just so damn good.
So we have AMC A-List. If you don't know what that is, it's the thing that took over MoviePass. It's an upgraded version of MoviePass, and it's through AMC, and you can watch movies in IMAX and Dolby.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say this for sure you should watch it in Dolby, or would you say Dolby or IMAX, or would you say it may not be worth it to watch it in Dolby?
Okay,
or IMAX?
if you're somebody like us who has A-List, obviously there's no extra charge for Dolby and IMAX, but I'm sure a lot of people listening or a lot of people in general don't. So I think this is a kind of movie where if you have the financial means to pay that premium price for Dolby or IMAX,
It's
or you
worth
have
it.
the A-List, 100%.
Yeah.
I can't like promote it anymore. Like, you have to go watch it.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. Like, you'll still love it if you watch it in regular.
Mhm.
But just this is one of those movies that really comes down to the sound, because with so much music involved in it and the whole performance and whatnot, like it's just amazing, and you'll literally get chills down your spine as you're watching it. That's how good it is.
So yeah, that's the movies. We watched Beautiful Boy, and I'm looking forward to watching Bohemian Rhapsody. In the next week or two, we're going to be talking about the next Fantastic Beasts movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually going to be going to Universal Studios that day it comes out, and we're going to be going to watch it there.
Yep.
Real quick, I made you watch a movie this week called Snowpiercer.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of my favorite movies. It's one of the movies that a lot of people don't know. Tell me about what you felt about it after watching it.
Honestly, that was one of the best movies I've seen in a very long time. Just because the story was so original.
It's refreshing.
Yeah,
right?
it's such a different concept. Like, I haven't seen a movie in recent times that kind of like it's kind of like a curveball. Like, you don't really know where this is going. Not in the sense that it's such a different type of story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think first of all, I have a man crush on Captain America.
There's two of us.
We both do. So anything that he is in, Chris Evans, I'll absolutely love it. But he portrayed his character just like it was amazing, and the way the movie turns out and the resolve and everything, I think was great.
Just a sidetrack, I think we're going to have to dedicate one whole episode on Avengers 4 and talking about our theories and stuff like that, because we're on the top of Captain America. We're huge Avengers and Marvel fans, so just keep that in mind for the future.
We're big movie people in general, just because, for one, it's like kind of like our little escape from reality, essentially. Like, I love going to watch at least a movie a week or something. So, in upcoming podcasts and whatnot, we'll always have more than not, we'll always have something new to talk about. And obviously, at the end of the year, we'll have like a huge insight to most of the movies that came out this year.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this recently, and I was wondering like what really got me into movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just growing up in Southern California as a kid.
Yeah.
And if we went to Hollywood or went on like tours and stuff, and said, "Oh, this actor lives here," or "This movie was shot there," that kind of like it kind of broke that fourth wall.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, this movie that I just watched, it happened just here. And like, when you're so lost to that movie, and then you see that like reality is just over there, half an hour up the road, that kind of made it really cool for me. And ever since then, I just started watching everything, and that's been my primary hobby since then.
And for me, it was just like, I guess this past year, Chef T's always been into movies, and another cousin of ours is also into a lot of movies, and I started living more near them, and they kind of got me into it too now. So now it's like any and all movies that come out, or even old classic movies and stuff like that, if we can get a chance to watch it, we'll watch it.
So yeah, if you haven't seen Snowpiercer, make sure you go watch it, and let me know what you think.
Yeah, and to anybody considering going to watch Bohemian Rhapsody, stop considering and go watch it. You will not regret that decision at all. And for somebody looking for maybe something a little different, something a little low-key, Beautiful Boy, absolutely recommend that movie. I give that a solid 10 out of 10. It'll hit you right in the feelings.
All right, we're going to move on now. Lamb here is big in fashion, shoes, streetwear, the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I get that information from him,
Mm-hmm.
same way he gets movie information from me sometimes.
Yep.
So, what can you tell us about ComplexCon? When was it? What happened?
So ComplexCon, this was just happened this past weekend, which was November, if I'm correct, the 3rd and the 4th.
Mhm.
Yeah, the 3rd and the 4th of November. Those are the days of ComplexCon. So it's essentially a convention run by the company Complex, which does a lot of they do a lot
Media
of
and stuff
media
like-
reporting on,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
like they're big in the sneaker and fashion world.
Mhm.
Last year was their very first one, and it was a huge success.
Really?
Just
It started last year?
Yep, last year
Oh,
was their
I
very
didn't know
first
that.
one. So this year was their second one. The whole concept behind it is it's a bunch of brands come together to release exclusive products, a lot of collaborations, a lot of limited sneakers, and it's just kind of a convention for people who are into all of that to just go hang out, buy some limited stuff, and just enjoy the day. I didn't go this year. I was really close to going, but I just couldn't fork over the $85 ticket price for one day.
Is it 85 and like do you get to, is there a concert included or how does that work?
So it's like they have performances here and there. Like for example, I think this weekend they had Tinashe performed. I think Sheck West was there. A couple. They have like like this kind of middle range of performers.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody huge came out
Mhm.
unless no, sorry, Future was there if you're in the future, but their main thing is not about the performances. I think that's just kind of like a bonus that comes with it. Their main thing is obviously like all the booths and all the companies that come out for all their limited clothing and streetwear and shoes and whatnot. The big thing though that comes up every single year is which company is going to release the most limited shoes, and both Adidas and Nike consistently 2 years in a row have done it. Limited, whether it be a Pharrell Human Races or Nike SBs are making a return now. A Diamond Supply collaboration just dropped over the weekend. Shoes that you can purchase for $100 to $200 and resell for $1,000 plus. Stuff like that drops at ComplexCon every year. So I don't know. It got me thinking that maybe this coming year I should probably end up going. It just depends. The lines are always crazy as well.
Is there anything that stood out in terms of releases from ComplexCon this year?
Let's see. One of the cooler ones I've seen is OVO. Their brand did a collaboration with a company called Murakami, which is
Is that
this.
Takashi?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Takashi
okay.
Murakami. Yeah, so he's friends with Kanye and Virgil Abloh and all these guys.
Yeah.
So they had like a pretty simple run of like the OVO owl with the Murakami Takashi whatever flower print over it, and it looked pretty cool. But that to me was one that I had no idea about it before the thing started, because everybody kind of had a general idea of which shoes are going to be released there, but nobody really knew a lot about, I guess, the streetwear aspect of it. So clothes like that were definitely cool. I think the main thing for a lot of people are obviously shoes, and like I mentioned, the Pharrell Williams NERD Human Race that came out exclusive there was a $250 shoe that's going for $1,500 now, and the Diamond Supply SB collab. I think those are the biggest ones. This year definitely wasn't as crazy as last year, but there's still a lot of cool stuff.
All right. I mean, I guess that just about covers ComplexCon. I just wanted to know, I generally have an idea of what happens there. If you're on Instagram and Twitter, you see all that, but I just want to know, specifically what was coming out. Other than that, I think we covered sports, talked about some movies and some of the culture.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is very broad. As more stuff starts coming out, we're going to get into it more deep. We are trying this new format of just talking about everything and trying to fit it in one podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're listening to this, make sure you comment below. Make sure you subscribe. Shout out to you if you are. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Signing off.